draft overall, when you look at all these teams, who's the team outside of the 49ers, Shasky, where you say, damn, they knocked it out the park?
Well, Arizona, but I thought they had the farthest to go in the division.
Yeah.
Right? The other team that I keep coming back to that I think is a very high-level team is I look at Baltimore, and it just seems like every year they draft a nasty linebacker that I like. They lose Queen, and
to the Steelers.
He was an excellent player for them, and they just always seem to be in the mix. They're also a team that I think that, they value players similar to the way the 49ers do. I also look at what the Chargers did, and I look at what, Harbaugh has had success with. Big athletic lineman, Joe Staley, right? Like I think of Joe Staley's best years coinciding with Harbaugh being here. And Alt reminds me a lot of Joe Staley. I think he's even bigger than Joe Staley. And then they get Ladd McConkey right after that. I think those are two good picks. Those are Harbaugh-style picks. And I just think that those fit. And they're going to run the ball down team's throat. And, I think that the Chargers did what they needed to do.
Brandon Rice got drafted to the Chargers, son of Jerry Rice. Not happy. He was not happy about slipping so far in the NFL draft. But he goes to the Chargers with these linemen. They still have Quentin Johnson, the first-round pick from last year. Ladd McConkey going there out of Georgia. You get the running backs here. You got J.K. Dobbins as backup to Gus Edwards. Justin Herbert, obviously, is their quarterback. Cornelius Johnson, the big wide receiver from Michigan. So he went line. He's beefing up the trenches.
The other team that I came away, in terms of like looking at the hierarchy of the NFC, I feel like the Eagles had two great picks back-to-back. We'll see what the rest of their draft.
I'm surprised you to say the Eagles first.
Well, because they are the team that I think is, we're sleeping on them. I think they're coming this year. They got Barkley in the offseason.
No, nobody's sleeping on the Eagles. I mean,
I think everybody's consensus for Niner fans is like, Detroit's going to be better, and the Rams.
I feel like when they got Saquon Barkley, I said, damn.
I haven't seen a lot of people bring up the Eagles, and I saw them get, the DB from Iowa, and they got the number one overall cornerback, and so at least on most people's draft boards, and that was the biggest area of concern. I also still think they need linebackers, but I think the Eagles got the best via free agency in the draft.
Well, think about what they did. So you get Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis back in the middle.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox retires. They trade Hassan Reddick. So on the ends, I'm a little weary of them saying, okay, I don't know if they have premium edge rushers, but you may not need them if you got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter pushing the pocket up the middle and you're making a quarterback roll out. That makes Bryce Huff's job easier, right? At defensive end for the Eagles. But then you got Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. You get Devin White from Tampa Bay. I'm not that high on Devin White. Maybe he needs to change the scenery. But you forget, they still have Darius Slay, and they re-signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
Remember he was there the Super Bowl year. They lose to Kansas City, goes to Detroit. Now he comes back to Philadelphia. Alongside Mitchell, the kid from Toledo, who's tough, and then Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, who we all liked. When they signed Saquon Barkley, I said, damn, Saquon's never... This is like football heaven for him, considering where he came from.
Absolutely.
He's going to have room to roam.
Well, I think about that mesh point gun run thing that Jalen likes to do. I think he's going to have a monster year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm definitely not sleeping on Philly. I think Philly's in for a nice little resurgence.
I agree.
You think about what they did with the coordinators, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. It's a lot better than what they had last season.
And then I look at Spencer Rattler going to New Orleans. That makes them just a little more intriguing because they're a very boring team to me.
Spencer's something else, isn't he?
But like Derek Carr's boring to me. Like it's just very boring. They're not a team I fear. I think he can shake things up.
Might take that job.
What about the Bears? What do you guys do
the Bears.
I think this is in a hard division. That's a really tough division. You don't know? Green Bay's ascending.
No, it is. It is. But I'm just saying, if there is a perfect situation for a rookie quarterback, like if Caleb has a C.J. Stroud type of season, they could be players in the NFC.
Well, Detroit is a double-digit win team, right? I think most people...
Maybe.
You think they're taking a step back?
Well, think about the Lions. Chicago should have won that game in Detroit. They were up 12 points with like 4 minutes left. They blew it. Then they come back around a couple weeks later, and they smoked Detroit. I mean, it wasn't even close to Soldier Field.
Okay.
I mean, they took it to Detroit. Took it to them. They go to Minnesota on Monday Night Football. They snuffed them out. They shut them down. They beat them up. The Packers, they play very, very tough at the end of the season, 17-9. They lose that game, obviously. Their defense started to step up. They won 4 of their last 6 games down the stretch with basically no offense. Basically no offense. They lost a tough game to Cleveland.
You're talking about the Bears.
I'm talking about the Bears.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
Detroit is a really,
but I'm
really
saying,
good team.
I don't think the gap is as wide between Detroit and Chicago. Division games are always different. And Chicago's walking away from last season thinking, we should have swept Detroit. Detroit was not in the game at Soldier Field whatsoever. They got pummeled. And the game in Ford Field in Detroit a couple weeks prior to that, because I remember I had Detroit on some bets here, and I was like, oh, God, they're not looking good at all. They had to rally and come back from dear life to win that football game. Now, you can laugh all you want, Shasky, and then you get Cleveland. Then you get to Cleveland. Cleveland, we all admit, had a very good defense. Chicago controlled that football game. Quarterback didn't make plays.
I understand.
The quarterback didn't make plays.
In the NFL, jumping from, 5 wins up to even 9 wins is a big jump. And
it's common, though, in today's day and age. In this league, we see worst to first. We see worst to first.
In that division, I think doing it in the AFC South for what the Houston Texans did is one thing. I think doing it in that division, you had 2 playoff teams that won games in the playoffs in that division. I just think it's a tougher division than we're giving credit to. I don't know with Minnesota, though. I don't know. Minnesota, we'll see. I don't believe in Sam Darnold at all. So I think, to me, Minnesota is the team that, they're going to take a step back. And they were better last year. They fought down the stretch as well. That's a tough division.
It is a tough division, but I think you could make a jump. Houston just made a jump, right?
I know, but
Jacksonville made a jump. We see in Cincinnati making jumps. We see in Baltimore making jumps. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Today's NFL.
All year.
Now you get Roma Dunze, you get DJ Moore, you get Keenan Allen. Those are your 3 wide receivers.
On paper, they look a lot better.
Caleb Williams and this defense with Chicago. I think they're going to come in second at least in the NFC North. I really do. Now Green Bay scares me.
Wait, so you've got Chicago leapfrogging Detroit or Green Bay?
I think Detroit takes a step back. I think this is the season Jared Goff turns into a pumpkin and they start looking for a quarterback. Because now the pressure's on him. They got everything, and when it came down to it in an NFC Championship game, who made the plays? Brock or Jared? Jared didn't make the throws. He was short on some. He overthrew one to Gibbs right before halftime. Could have gave Detroit a 28-7 lead.
I'm not selling Detroit stock. I was really
impressed
selling their
stock
with Hutchinson and Gibbs is going to take a step forward.
I'm not selling.
I'm not ready to give Chicago. I'll believe it when I see it.
I mean, their DBs are really good. Jalen Johnson, they traded for Montez Sweat, so that's their second-round pick. Their defense is all over the place. I think Chicago takes a step. I think Chicago's going to be second place.
I remember people crushing that Montez Sweat deal and just compared it to the Chase Young one. And Montez Sweat, production-wise,
oh my gosh,
far better than what Chase Young gave.
Nope,
it was because you gave him the money, too, though. It wasn't just you gave him basically a high second-rounder, which was almost like a low first. It's also because you paid him a lot of money before he hit free agency, when you could have just signed the guy in free agency without surrendering the high pick. I mean, that was the algorithm.
No guarantee it goes there, though.
No doubt.
Free agency.
No doubt.
Dude, you just talk about a perfect landing spot for Caleb.
No, it's a great landing spot.
I mean, you get DeAndre Swift in the backfield. You still have Cole Kmet at tight end, and you got Gerald Everett as your second tight end, who's a great receiving tight end. Not great, but a very good receiving tight end. Those are weapons galore for a rookie quarterback, man. Oh my Lord. Let's go.
But also, do you believe in the coach, Eberflus?
I like Eberflus. He's a defensive-minded coach. They whiffed on the quarterback before, and he was not there for that quarterback when he got drafted.
Well, there's one thing for sure. Someone's taking a step back if they're taking a step forward. And I don't see, Green Bay. Green Bay kind of came out of nowhere down the stretch, and to take the next leap forward is difficult. To win double digits year after year after year is hard.
I like Caleb in that division. No, I hear you. Packers are threats. Lions are threats, but I think the Bears, I would not sleep on them. When you have those 3 wide receivers, good luck defenses. Good luck Detroit defense. That's why Detroit was drafted all those quarters. They knew, damn, we gotta cover Green Bay's wide receivers. We've got to cover Chicago's wide receivers.
Well, and one of their DBs is going to get outed for being a cheap shot artist.
Yep, no doubt. And then you got Minnesota and Justin Jefferson. So you still got to cover him. That division is really good. I like that division on paper. NFC North. David Frisno, what's happening?